Time for some pain.
One of the things that I love and miss about retro video games was the countless, and I do mean countless number of unlicensed sports games that weaseled their way into your collection. Seriously, think about it. If you're a serious collector of older video games, or if you owned a lot of video games during the 8, 16, and 32-bit era, I would bet my left testy that you owned at least one or two sports games that you didn't even know was in your collection. Like, what the hell is this? Don't know, and I don't care. Back on the shelf you go, my man. And Barkley's Shut Up and Jam is no exception to that rule. A highly underrated arcade-style 2-on-2 basketball game starring the round mound of rebound. Wait a minute, a 2-on-2 arcade-style basketball game? Huh, I know this song. This sounds familiar. Ah, that's right. But let's start from the beginning. Sir Charles Barkley needs no introduction. An 11-time NBA All-Star, 11-time member of the All-NBA team, and the 1993 Most Valuable Player. And of course in 2000, the bread truck retired as the fourth player in NBA history to achieve 20,000 points, 10,000 rebounds, and 4,000 assists. This guy is a legend. Widely regarded as one of the greatest power forwards in NBA history, Sir Charles was one of the most popular and beloved NBA players of the 90s due to his amazing aggressive style of play, his rebounding skills, hilarious and outspoken interviews, and of course, when he declared that sports figures should not be considered role models. Talk about legendary. Now, coming off of his insanely impressive 1993 MVP season, where he led the Phoenix Suns to the NBA Finals in a losing effort against Michael Jordan's Bulls, it made perfect sense to cash in on his success and slap the round mound of rebound onto a basketball game. The story goes that Charles Barkley was in some early versions of NBA Jam, but was later removed when he opted to make a solo game that was later deemed as a poor man's version of NBA Jam. Yeah, you guessed it, this bad boy. Now look, this game is clearly a ripoff of NBA Jam. I mean, come on, let's be serious for a minute. It's about as clear as morning wood in basketball shorts. It's like how the Fast and the Furious ripped off Point Break, or how Avatar ripped off Dance with the Wolves. Same shit, different setting. But since NBA Jam is considered a masterpiece and an all-time classic, does that mean that Barkley's Shut Up and Jam is as well? Well, let's get into it. Here's the major problem with this game. NBA Jam exists. I mean, think about it. Why would anyone buy this game when NBA Jam has cemented its legacy in the arcade a year before? And even if you owned NBA Jam on the Super Nintendo or the Sega Genesis, you could have picked up its superior sequel, NBA Jam Tournament Edition. And that's the thing. If NBA Jam didn't exist, Barkley's Shut Up and Jam would be considered a classic and probably be way more popular today. A unique arcade basketball game that's fun as hell. But at the same time, this game wouldn't even exist if NBA Jam didn't. So that's the issue. This game is like the shark movie The Meg, and NBA Jam is like Steven Spielberg's Jaws. That's all it is. But picture The Meg coming out a year after Jaws. Now look, is Barkley's Shut Up and Jam exactly the same as NBA Jam? Well, no, not exactly the same, but it's pretty close. But it's just enough to be slightly different. It's not like the game College Slam where it's literally an exact clone of NBA Jam. Like for example, players can activate their power button by pressing C, allowing the player to move faster, improve their shot, and enable super dunks. In this game, each player starts off with 6 power buttons and can earn more by stealing a ball or making 3-pointers. Now, in my opinion, this is slightly more in-depth than NBA Jam's turbo button, and it kinda acts as a replacement for the He's on Fire feature in NBA Jam. I will say that there are two big differences between this and NBA Jam. First being that Barkley's game provides more of a faster and aggressive style of play by trying to capture the informal and rougher nature of street ball. Something you would watch at Rucker Park in Harlem, New York, you know? This almost makes it the precursor to the NBA Street games on the PS2, and that's where the biggest difference comes in. There's no NBA license. Unlike an NBA Jam where you can choose from the top players from each NBA team, you can only play as Charles Barkley or pick from 15 fictitious players with different stats, with, Charles Barkley being the best, of course. Now, this kind of blows in my opinion. I mean, look, I get it. It's a Charles Barkley basketball game, but how awesome would it have been to have like the top 20 basketball players in the NBA in this game? I know. The license, the money, it would never happen. I get it. But on the plus side, you can choose from several court locations, which changes it up a bit. Now, in my opinion, the highlight of the game by far is its personality, which coincides with Charles Barkley. The awesome, gritty music with catchy beats, the fantastic sound clips by Barkley himself. Man, nothing beats go get the damn ball.
Go get the damn ball.
The location of the basketball courts that are dripping with details, well, for a 16-bit game of course, and just the overall presentation of the experience makes this game a solid entry in the 16-bit sports catalog. Also, there's plenty of replay value in here too, in my opinion. Players can play a single match, a series, or a tournament, and in all modes, games can either be timed or played up to a certain number of points, such as 21 or 50. Now this is Street Ball. Also, the cherry on top is that this game is also 4-player compatible, just like an NBA Jam. I will say that a pretty unique feature is that your opponent has a very high chance of making a difficult shot in the final seconds of the game, which adds strategy to your endgame. Now, from what I understand, there are no major differences between the Sega Genesis and the Super Nintendo versions besides, the usual annoying bullshit graphics and sound comparison, whatever. I should note that this game has caught some wind in its sales recently due to a game called Barkley Shut Up and Jam Gaiden, or is it Gaiden? I don't know. That game has nothing to do with this game since it's an RPG, but it jokingly presents itself as the official sequel to both Barkley Shut Up and Jam and the movie Space Jam. It's gotten amazing reviews, so check it out if you're a fan of this game, NBA Jam, and RPGs. Overall, this is a solid fun game that gets heavily overshadowed by its originator, NBA Jam. Even though it's not as good as NBA Jam, the game successfully became what it set out to be, a streetball version of NBA Jam starring Sir Charles. Unfortunately, it did not catch fire, pun intended, which is a shame, but at the same time, the game does have a cult following in the retro gaming community. The legacy of Barkley Shut Up and Jam has been forgotten by the masses, but remembered by the few. A sequel was released shortly after called Barkley Shut Up and Jam 2, which has slight improvements over the original, but again, it never had the chance against NBA Jam sequel Tournament Edition. If you're a fan of NBA Jam and still play on original hardware, definitely pick this game up. It really is a solid game that has been lost to the sands of time. Like I said before, even though this game was cut from the same cloth as NBA Jam, had that game not existed, Barkley's Shut Up and Jam would be considered a must-own for all 16-bit enthusiasts. If you didn't care much for this game back in the day and played NBA Jam instead, I totally get it. Lord knows I did. But with this underrated sports classic being an early entry into my Sega Genesis collection, I still paid homage to the round mound or rebound from time to time and had a blast doing it. Invalid password? That's bullshit. Get the fuck out of here.